Welcome back to another round of ESPN Racing Pick'em, where we try to look into the future. We pull out that magical crystal ball. And I say we, but I actually just mean Nate over there. It's good to see you. Are we ready for France this weekend?
We are. Yeah, we are. They're coming thick and fast now, these races. So we're getting right back into it.
And then we get a break for the summer break. So let's knock these out. My first question for you is this. Will Red Bull, Ferrari, or Mercedes, will they all score points? Is it a yes or a no?
That's a really good question, isn't it? Because all of those guys at the front are getting quite competitive. And this is a weekend where we think they were going to be up there. But I'm going to say no, because I think Ferrari still haven't got a handle on their issues. We obviously saw Carlos Sainz have that engine issue in Austria. Red Bull, there's occasionally things crop up for them. Mercedes, funnily enough, I would be more willing to bet on those two cars finishing than the other two teams finishing, which is kind of why we're in a fascinating position right now. So I'm going to say no, but I think that the majority of them will finish. But I think one or two of those 6 cars won't make it to the finish.
One of the more enjoyable storylines to watch this season, at least for me, has been watching Mick Schumacher. And for a minute, it looked like he was almost snake bitten, couldn't score that point. Now he seems to be just over the hump, and the points are becoming a more consistent thing. So will he score this weekend? Yes or no?
I think so. I think that you're absolutely right. You know, he did seem snake bitten, and he just got that confidence boost from scoring those points in Silverstone, and then again in Austria. And in both those races, you know, he fought Max Verstappen at one, he fought Lewis Hamilton at the other. Not that bad of company in terms of fighting point for your first couple of F1 points. So I think he's in a really good place now. And crucially, that Haas car does look like he can score points every weekend. And that's why it was so important for him to get over that hump as quickly as possible. So I think we'll see him. And for what it's worth, I think we'll see Kevin Magnussen challenging for those points as well, because the Haas team, it hasn't had an upgrade this year, but somehow still one of the more competitive cars in the midfield.
Let's stay sort of in that midfield area, and in the US, the McLaren storyline is getting very interesting, especially when it involves IndyCar drivers. But let's talk about this weekend. Which constructor is most likely to score the most points? Is it McLaren or is it Alpine?
It's a really tough one. I honestly, I think this is a head and heart one. I think I've got 2 different answers for each one. My head would say Alpine.
So who are you going with for your head?
Head would be Alpine, because I think right now they look like the more confident of the two. They look like the stronger of the two. You know, Ocon is really performing well. Everyone talks about Fernando Alonso at that team, but Esteban Ocon has been performing so well. And McLaren, obviously, we know the reason there's that interest in America, Nicole, of course, is because Daniel Ricciardo's performances haven't quite been there.
Stir the pot.
Yeah, but I'm a huge Daniel Ricciardo fan, and I'm a huge fan of McLaren as well. And I think that Lando Norris is performing brilliantly. He's found that level, and he just seems to be able to consistently hit that every week. I'm going to back Danny Ric to get over some things. He released that statement last week. He's good at driving on emotion, I think, Daniel Ricciardo. I think he's got a point to prove, and I think he can drag that car right back up to where it belongs. And I think that in a straight fight, McLaren should be beating Alpine at this point. So I'm going to say McLaren. I'm going to go with the heart and say McLaren for the final answer as well. But it's a tough one. It's pretty close.
It's a tough one. I also feel when it comes to Daniel Ricciardo, every time his back is against the wall, every time you think this is it, he can't get out, he pulls something out. So it'll be interesting to see what that something is this weekend. All right, my last question for you. Of course, it's who wins, but here are your options. Will it be one of the Ferrari drivers? Will it be Leclerc? Will it be Max Verstappen? How about Lewis? Or how about the field? Are we going with other?
So I've been looking forward to this one. I did a podcast earlier in the week and I said Max Verstappen, but I've had a change of heart since then, because I think that Red Bull think Mercedes are going to be very strong at this weekend. This is the race Mercedes have been looking at. It wasn't Spain. It wasn't even Silverstone, even though they were very good there. It was France. They said this race is really where we want to kind of bounce back. And this is where all our upgrades have been kind of pointing towards. So I'm going to say Lewis Hamilton. It's his 300th race weekend. He's currently on the longest drought of his career without a win, which is insane to think, because it's not been that long. You know, that was only the end of last season. And again, like Daniel Ricciardo, that's a man. Lewis Hamilton's a man who performs at his absolute best when his back's against the wall, when he feels like things have gone against him. And he's had 3 straight podiums. So he's really driving really well. So I'm going to put my neck on the line, say Lewis Hamilton. And people who heard me on a podcast earlier this week will hear me say Verstappen. So I've covered all my bases bar Leclerc. So knowing how these things go, Charles Leclerc will probably win. But for the purposes of this video, I think Lewis Hamilton. I think he's got a really good chance.
No, it'll probably be someone like George Russell.
Other will win. So we'll see. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to see you. Stay cool, my friend.
You too.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content plus live streaming, make sure to subscribe to ESPN Player.